So particle systems can be a bit complicated, and I don't really know my way around them that well, but I'll show you some of the things I've found out. So I'm going to add an object so that it can emit particles. I'm adding just a simple plane. It's just a little square right here that we can then attach a particle system to. This is the icon for it. See the little particles shooting out, and there is no particle system to start with. You have to add it. Once you've done that, then you've got several different settings, whole sections of them. So right now there are 1,000 particles being generated, and then they're dropping straight down because there isn't much velocity and there is gravity taking effect. And you can see that they're starting off from the very first frame, and each particle lasts for 50 frames right now. When it gets to 200, it's going to stop. So you can control when the particles begin and end and how long they're going to last. The source right now is just the face. So you can have it come out of the different faces, or you can change it to the vertices. You can see now they're coming out only from those corners. So that can be useful sometimes if you want special effects. I'm just going to keep it on the faces, and they're bubbling up there, and we're going to just collapse that up for right now. So let's look at these different sections. We've got the cache, don't know what that does, velocity right here. So right here we've got how much velocity, and as I increase that velocity, they're now going against gravity before gravity starts to pull them back down. So you've got that initial velocity as well. We can also look at some physics, the different kinds of motion. So right now, Brownian motion is set to 0. So they're going pretty much wherever they're generated. They go up, they come back down. If you increase this value, they can go a little bit outside of that. Depending on how much velocity is there, they can't fight against that very much. You can see now they're coming down outside of the actual plane, and you increase that more, and now they're kind of coming out all over the place. Think of molecules in a liquid kind of just bouncing all over the place. So that can really affect what your particles look like. We'll go down here to render, and you're rendering as a halo right now. It's just this kind of shape, kind of blobby shape. You can actually add an object to your project, and then that can become the particle. So let's say you make a snowflake. You can actually make the snowflake be the particle. If we want to, we can add another mesh, and let's do something distinctive. I got this cone here. Now, we don't necessarily want it in the scene, so I can actually, a lot of times I'll see tutorials, they move it behind the camera. Now, if you're doing reflective surfaces, that can show up. So sometimes it's better to hide it in your model and attach it so that it'll never be seen. But now I can change my plane, go down here to what is being emitted. Instead of a halo, I can make it an object. And that object is nothing right now because I need to tell it what object. And it'll look at what you have in your scene, and I can make that cone be the little particle. So you can see here they're all the same size. We can make them larger or smaller, but we can also add some randomness. So some of them are going to be teeny tiny, and some of them are going to be bigger. So you can find something, so you've got all these different shapes that are possible, and then different sizes of that shape. So let's keep going down here. We've got field weights is where you're going to find that gravity. So if I just press play and let it run, I can decrease gravity, and now they're shooting up higher and higher. So if there's no gravity, they'll just basically keep going up, and they won't have a chance to come back down before they're done. If we increase their lifespan, then we would start to see them. But we can see how it's starting to look pretty cool. Now the color of that particle, let's see if changing the color of the cone will make a difference. So I'm going to go down here to the materials for the cone, add a new material, and change it, let's say red. And that cone should be that color. Selecting it. It's not changing that. Let me click it again. Base color. Oh, here's this subsurface. Oh, I'm not in rendered mode. Silly. Okay, so now I've got, let me undo that. And now our particles here are red. So maybe pick something that's going to be a little easier to see. And now you can see that they are the color of whatever that original cone is. So you can go back to your plane. And the plane itself can actually do things like emit light. It could be a glowing one. But we've got these particles shooting up and different sizes, a little bit of Brownian motion to make them kind of spread out a little. And that's your beginnings of your particles.